All right, then at this time, we'd like to hear from Mr. Hurd, our student liaison.
It is my pleasure to address this board in person for the first time as student member. I commend the board for leading by example and showing that if teachers and some of their children are now in person, we will also hold ourselves to the same expectation. I want to additionally thank the board for permitting our student liaisons to attend the meeting in person. I recognize the board's growing efforts to seek out the student perspective. This past week has been unlike any other. For the first time ever, Charles County Public Schools has adopted online synchronous learning as its primary tool for teaching. Despite the mornings of technical challenges and learning curves, we made it through the week. Teachers, your students know how hard you are working to tear down those barriers and create a classroom that may be unconventional, but is ultimately a platform for us to grow. I'm sure this board has heard lots about digital learning. I know we have some board members who have family impacted by this unique way of learning this year. In addition to the community and family perspectives you may have heard, I am excited by the number of public comments received from students. You may not be able to live their day for them, but through their comments, we can get a glimpse of what it is like to be a student in our school system. I encourage my fellow board members to thoroughly read through the diverse and transparent comments our students took the time to write. As our classrooms continue to take on new settings, I am doing my best to seek out the diverse student experiences across the county. This last Friday, September 4th, I held a student forum to listen to students' many experiences throughout the week. And one student there said it best when she said, she just hopes for mutual empathy. And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Students are doing their best to understand that teachers are going to have challenges, the school system is going to have challenges, but likewise, students are hoping and really praying that at the end of the day, likewise, there will be empathy for them, understanding for the challenges that they face, and overall, at the end of the day, again, just knowing this is new for everyone. In addition, I'm planning to visit a student learning center where the children of many CCPS employees receive their digital learning. I also plan to spend a day doing my digital learning at one of our family internet centers, open to all students. My hope is to witness and gain perspective into all the various means my fellow students are using to attend their digital classes. I implore the board to set a timeline for returning to school. St. Mary's County Public Schools has laid out tentative dates to bring students back to the classroom. I believe that if we were to create a tentative schedule, it would restore confidence in the future of the school system, as well as give everyone involved much needed time to prepare for the transition between phases. As of today, many schools have not been able to successfully hold their first period. This explains a growing trend of uncertainty among our community who no longer knows whether school will be there for them when they wake up. At the very least, I strongly urge this board to set a tentative date to allow our special populations to return in person if they so choose. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hurd.
Mrs. McGraw, I'd like to kind of pause the agenda of the board meeting for a moment and ask the board to, I think for all of us to make clear to the public what our plans are for reopening. We're getting a lot of questions, and I'm sure you're getting the same emails I'm getting of, you know, one cohort of families want all children back in school tomorrow, and then another cohort of families want, you know, special needs kids in or disconnected kids in, and they want to know clearly what are we going to do.
Ms. Brown. Mr. Hurd.
I'm glad to see that this is a discussion that the board is having, and I think this is probably one of the most important discussions you all will have over the course of your terms. But I just wanted to highlight my perspective from the student perspective, and especially why I focus so much on our special populations and our most needy students. And staff have put in so much work into this process to make sure that it's good for students. And students have likewise put in so much effort to give their teachers that work that they are expecting of them. But I would consider myself fortunate, and I think I'm good with computers, and my classes are stagnate. They stagnate, and we sit there for 20 minutes trying to figure out tech problems, and I appreciated what Ms. Brown said, especially in the fact that the technical issues aren't over, and it's not, oh, the first week of school's over, we got this down. We're still learning, everybody's learning, but from the student perspective, we haven't had an A day yet where it's gone flawless, or even where we've been able to go to first period. My school, LaPlata High School, was able to fit that in, but I know some other schools haven't. Imagine you made it past the first week and you don't know who your first period teacher is. That's a situation a lot of kids are in right now. And I will also give you, this is my personal perspective, but also my brother. He's a middle schooler, and he's trying to figure out how the technology works, and he's taking this adventure with me and all the 27,000 other students. But we're fortunate, and had my mom not been at home teleworking, he would have never got on class that day because he couldn't figure it out. He didn't understand why he was waiting for an hour to get on. And I'm fortunate. There's a lot of students who aren't. And I'm in 11th grade, and the students who are in 11th grade, they're reaching the peak of their technological advancement. Imagine our middle schoolers, our elementary schoolers, and the discussion today isn't even on them. It's on the special needs. I cannot fathom what the special populations are going through right now. And as we sit here at one of the most pinnacle moments and one of your most pinnacle decisions, I think it's important to recognize the accomplishments and achievements, but also recognize how shaky the waters ahead are and how much our students are going to be expected to go through. So thank you, and I appreciate so much for Dr. Hill bringing this discussion up. This is very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
That's good.
Okay? Thank you.
Was there one other hand? Yes, sir.
So I have a few questions going back to Ms. Holstein's presentation. My name is Eric Valentine, for those of you who don't know me, and I have the privilege of serving as the student liaison representing LaPlata High School this year. I would like to provide some comments from the perspective of a fine arts student and follow up with a few questions. When the decision was first made to begin the school year virtually, many fine arts students had to ponder what their classroom might look like. Theater, orchestra, band, chorus, and art, all classes that rely heavily on in-person interactions. As for me personally, I had to seriously consider if I would continue with band, something I've been enrolled in for nearly 7 years. With the Veterans Day concert, winter concert, festival, and all county in question, and no real solutions being provided, the value of another year in band paled in comparison to what could be another potential AP credit. Charles County's reopening plan was not too reassuring for me either. The plan only mentions chorus and orchestra once, fine arts twice, theater 3 times, band 5 times, and art 6 times. The frequently asked questions that were released in conjunction with the plan did address performing arts and promised web-based programs and apps like Smart Music, but there were some issues with that. Ultimately, after much thought and deliberation with my director and friends, I decided I had to continue with band. The dilemma I faced was not isolated to me, though. This was one experienced by fine arts students across Charles County. My first band class failed to make me feel as though I made the right decision. My director mentioned Smart Music and stated the county had not created the accounts yet. This was not the drastically different experience students were guaranteed they would receive. To wrap up my comments, I would like to remind you all that next week is Arts and Education Week. In normal times, Mr. Bodemer and his staff would be able to arrange a few student performances. I had the privilege of participating in a brass quintet here just last year. Unfortunately, this is simply not possible. However, I believe you can still show the fine arts students across Charles County that you care and recognize Arts and Education Week. I would like to challenge and encourage each of you to attend at least one fine arts class each day next week and report and reflect on your experiences at next month's board meeting. Thank you. I hope to see you in class. And for my question, I was just wondering what sort of accommodations are being made for fine arts students who must attend family internet centers to receive their education, specifically those who may play instruments or be involved in chorus?
That was a challenge. We also heard that from parents who emailed and said, if you've never heard a fifth grader play for the first time, and all of those who have children who did that. So our principals have dedicated classrooms for kids to go during their fine arts period if they are practicing an instrument. All of our principals did that. So we are accommodating that. And Eric, I hope to have the smart music. We wrote a very aggressive grant and we did not get the money. So we had a lot of programs that really we were hoping that the grant would take care of the funding. And Mr. Bodemer's working very hard to try to get the funding so that we can support the smart music.
Thank you.
Okay, because we all know this. There are a lot of students who get up in the morning because of fine arts. And we have to make sure that we have a good, rigorous program for them because Sister, see, he's playing music for fine arts. There you go. Miss Abel.
Ms. Abel, go ahead.
What kind of money are we talking about?
It's-
How much are we asking for?
I'm doing this off the top of my head, but it's about $45,000.
That's it?
But don't quote me on that because I'm doing it off the top of my head. I have to go look to make sure I have the right number because there were a lot of programs in
And
there.
are we allowed to fundraise or accept a private check for that?
We don't need to do that. We will find the money. We don't need to do
Soon?
that. Yes, we will find the money. It's just that there were a lot of programs in there.
Okay.
So another example is Nearpod. Are you all using Nearpod yet? So Nearpod is coming, and we again used grant money to purchase for the elementary school. Secondary teachers have just really fallen in love with Nearpod. So last week we found a way to purchase it for all the secondary students. So we're trying to use general fund and grant funding, but we're okay right now.
To Mr. Valentine's request for us to attend one of your meetings, in normal circumstances, we would be there in a hot minute, but I don't know that we have the ability to attend classes online, do we? I didn't think so.
No.
So I want you to know that, so if you don't have a report next month, that's why.
Is there a possibility for students to do a performance together, but in their own homes, that can be broadcast on our
Yes,
panel?
yes, and that's coming. We have theater arts teachers, chorus teachers that all want to be able to provide that opportunity with students. And you all are using Flipgrid.
Our teacher, to try to limit the amount of platforms, is trying to stay away from Flipgrid, so we haven't started it. We did use that in spring, but she doesn't want to particularly use it.
Okay.
So
So
when-
yes, that will definitely be coming.
I saw another hand, Jim. I don't know your name.
Mr. Monk at St. Charles High School did not, or, is it St. Charles? Yeah.
Yeah.
He did an end of year, last year, music performance with his students.
Yes.
I watched it online. It was very good.
Yeah, very cool.
Fine. So I have a question, and depending on the answer, I have a follow-up question. So could you tell me all of the different populations in the special populations?
Okay, Dr. Hill, do you have the reopening plan? I don't want to miss one.
I do. It's special education, 504 plan students, students without internet connectivity, homeless and displaced students, students enrolled in specific career and technical education programs, and children of employees of CCPS.
So I do have my follow-up question then. So with the CTE, students going back to school, I just have a a question about whether some students choose, their parents don't want them to go back to school, and the students who do go back to school in the CTE programs, how equal is that going to be? Because are the students in school going to be having opportunities the students inside their own homes are going to be missing?
Yes. I mean, that's the honest answer, is yes.
And then,
Because the programs that we've chosen to be first to come back are really the programs where you can't do that hands-on piece at home. So,
And it's
yes.
not every CTE program, it's specified CTE programs. I also failed to mention English language learners, they're in that group also.
and
So your parents and students will have to weigh the
will some
options there.
students miss the opportunity? Because I know that some programs, at the end of your program, you get certified and they have different benefits. So some students will miss that. Is there an opportunity to make it up?
There is, and each program's a little different, and Miss Becky Pearson is leading our effort with CTE courses because there have been waivers with hours and for some of the certifications that are required. We are bringing students in one by one to do I think you probably know that, to do some of the certification tests. So she's very active working with your teachers, and she also has an advisory board trying to limit how much you're going to miss out, because that is a big concern. That's why we have certain CTE programs in phase 2, because there really is limited ways. You can do the theory and the book information first, but eventually you need to do that hands-on piece for some of the programs.